Good afternoon. My name is Tokiwa Smith. I'm CEO and Principal Consultant of Kemet Educational Services. And this afternoon, I want to welcome you to our STEM Port programs, Kupcakes and Konvos. So, our STEM Port program is our program that provides parents with strategies to help with their child's STEM education. And our Cupcakes and Convos is our way of building community, sharing strategies among parents so you can know various things from how to see your home environment, building relationships with educators, just anything that you want to talk to other parents about and get strategies because the best way that we can create a great learning environment at home and manage our children's education because as parents it's our responsibility and the school supports our goals for our children is to have support from other parents and communities. And so today's topic and this guest, she is my friend, and with the remote instruction and hybrid learning and working from home, um, designated space, which I think is important in general every school year, but it is super important for your child to have a designated space to work, and especially if they're doing remote instruction. And so in the beginning of this school year, our guest, Danielle Boyd, her daughter is doing remote instruction. And I saw her space for her daughter, and I was like, wow, can you be on our Cupcakes and Combos? Because I am sure other parents need some strategies on how to help with the designated space. And it's important no matter what, even if we weren't in a pandemic, but especially if your child is at home because we're working at home, right? And it's hard to have that, like everything is home. So something has some structure similar to school. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Danielle Boyd. And my first question is, how are you doing and how are you all navigating working at home and remote instruction? Like it's been what, a few weeks for you all now?
Yeah, we're in Fulton County, and it has been 6 weeks. Monday will start week 7 of remote instruction. So, how am I doing? Well, I'm still here. That's good. Corinne is still here, so that we're at least halfway winning the battle. And then, of course, because Fulton County is deciding, they're actually starting their phase 3, I believe, programming, which starts to integrate students back into the classroom 1 day a week. And then mid-October, they'll be integrating students 5 days a week. Corinne will not she will continue with the remote learning throughout the semester, but it is optional for all students. And so we've just been working around that and attempting to work as best we can with her teacher and her principal and all school stakeholders to make sure that we're all on the same page as it relates to our learning. So we're doing pretty well. It's taken an adjustment, but every day is a new learning step, and we just continue to try to make the best out of this current situation.
I understand that. So one of the reasons I brought you on, her space was so organized and so colorful. And what were some things that as well, my question is two parts.
Mhm.
As you was developing her space, what are the things that you thought were really important to have in that space? And then the second part, I know you're a parent and you have to feed her more because she's home more, right? So
Absolutely.
how did you make that cost effective?
Hmm. Well, let's start with part one of your question. So, for me, having been an education supporter for years, my whole career, even as a teenage student and supporting children in daycares, education has been number one priority for me. And I knew that when I had a child, that would be the most important priority that we would take care of outside of, love and support and care. So for me, if I wanted Corinne to take digital and remote learning seriously, I felt like I needed to give her a space that was a little reminiscent of the positive school environment that she came from. I wanted her to recognize that even though you just are going downstairs in our home, that this was school. And so you had to take it seriously. You still had to practice being on time. You had to get dressed fully. You had to have everything you need and all your supplies nearby as you would if you were in the normal classroom. So for me, doing all of that meant creating an environment. Of course, I wasn't going to build her a schoolroom or her own office necessarily. So her space is a shared space. It's just that she has pretty much one wall to herself. So kind of behind me, I know the lighting may not be as great as I would like it to be, but she has a little curtain of just shears that we've had literally since her first birthday party. I just found them and was like, yes, we can create a little backdrop. It's really colorful. I, researched every store with school supplies like Michael's and, Amazon. And I found things like math charts, because math is an area where she struggles most. And so I wanted her to have reminders of the multiplication facts, division facts, fraction facts. So I have them, can't really see because my head is in the way, but I have them on the walls behind me where she can reference them very quickly. Other organizational tools I thought were important is that I'm a working parent. And so, yes, I'm working while she's at school. So I thought we needed something to house documents in, so that if there was an important document that her teacher sent to print, or something that she worked on, let's say in art class, we could house them in a space that I could easily see them, she could easily see them, and we could all have access to them. So I got her a hanging file, a hanging folder file that hangs from my wall. And all I did was use little thumbtacks so that I didn't make, huge damages in my walls, but we could put everything up. I also purchased a cork board. That was for her teacher's information, is for her daily schedule. The cork board has little inspirational phrases for her, and then small little boards. And I'm going to try to show you this, and hopefully it won't go too bad. But we have what I call her daily affirmation board. That was also important to me for her to get and to be reminded daily of what she needs to remember to be successful at school. This is something we would do in the car on our way to school normally, and now it's just here as a reminder. So I'm going to grab that for you guys just to see a couple of reminders. So these are her daily affirmations. She's a problem solver. She can do hard things. She's fearfully and wonderfully made, and she's a giving and generous person. The little things like these I got from Michael's, so anything I
Do
thought
you
was
change the
important.
affirmations every day, or they're
No,
the same affirmations?
they are the same. She will repeat these affirmations from now until she knows them like she knows her name. So it doesn't matter if she's in 3rd grade or 12th grade. Those are the key things for us. Now, as she gets older, I would love for her to add her own. Those are some that I helped her develop, but I would love for her to add her own. But those to me are kind of our values, our core values about what she needs to remember about herself daily. So having a little organizational cart for things like manipulatives for math, or art supplies for art, or pencils, and I have a little caddy for all of her scissors and anything she needs. It was very important to me to have it right at fingertip access. Also, what was important for us was a little clock, because if she's in school, her teacher is constantly reminding her of the time and the schedule. But if I'm working, I can't always pull away from a conference meeting to come and check to see if she is on schedule. So she needs to be kind of in control and responsible for her time as well. Now, feeding her, being the cafeteria, the chef, has been a challenge. I'll be admitted and say that I have friends who prep lunch for the week like they normally would if they were going to face-to-face school. I don't do that. What I do is I try to make sure that around lunchtime, at least 15 minutes before lunch, sometimes 30, that I just pull away from work if I don't have a meeting scheduled and grab her lunch and make it. If I do have a meeting, then that morning before school starts, I will have taken her lunch out and left it on the counter for her to grab on her own. So feeding her has been a challenge, but we've managed, thankfully. Lots of Costco runs to get everything in bulk, and of course lots of turkey and cheese, and she loves tomato soup and things like that. So I just get very convenient cups that can go in the microwave or something easy that she can make on her own.
That's good. And everybody's wondering, you got this stuff. So you said the combination of, first you looked at what you had at your house, right?
Yes, of course,
So,
of
okay.
course. So that
Because we may have more stuff than you think, right?
I think for me, normally as we prepare for back to school, we're doing that anyway, right? We're
Okay.
assessing how many backpacks do we have, and I can say we have more than the law should allow, because she's actually not as hard on backpacks as I would think. So we assess how many, pencils do you have from last year? How many folders were we able to reuse from last year? And because everything's digital, she's not having to carry as many things in. So we really were able to use a lot of things from last year and even the year before that we've saved. So recycle, 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 reuse, reuse, reuse. And then the things that I thought that she really needed to make the space more friendly for her use are those things that I purchased.
Okay. And where do you usually get these things? Are you getting them from Amazon? Are you going to the dollar store,
Everywhere.
Target?
Yes, everywhere. I like to save money. I do not like to pay full price for anything. So I'm going to start at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to go over to Michael's. Because of the pandemic, I was a face-to-face shopper. I like to go in a store and come out with a bag. I love shopping. But because of the pandemic, I really had to transition to online shopping more than I ever had before. And so that gave me a better opportunity to price compare, actually. So to do a lot of price comparisons to get, to identify what what things cost and what made the most sense for our household. So, yeah, Dollar Tree, Michael's, Target occasionally, because Target, can be maybe a little pricier than most. A couple of things from Walmart, but most things I literally either purchased and they shipped it to my house, or I did curbside pickup. So I still didn't have to go into an actual store necessarily to purchase these supplies.
That's good. The other question I had, did your daughter, Corinne, did she help with any of it, guiding what she need, or is she old enough to know and what she needs, or you kind of had to direct
Well,
it all?
I would love to say that I included her in the process, but I didn't. And that's mostly because I love surprises.
Okay.
I love to do room reveals. I've been doing them since she was 4, whether it was her bedroom or, a special gift that she wasn't expecting. I just love surprises. So in this case, I'm active in the PTO at the school. So I wanted to make sure in terms of just checking in and making sure that through our Facebook group, I was checking on updates through the school website, checking on updates as to what supplies they needed. And as that information came in, I just kind of utilized that to create my shopping list, if you will. So I really did not include her on the initial reveal. Now, after she saw the space the weekend before school started, we just went through all items and we looked at everything, from the dry erase markers to the dry erase board to, what did she need? So we looked at everything and we did do an extra trip actually to Target after she saw her space and said, okay, mommy, I do need an additional Sharpie. Excuse me. She needed an extra marker. So we went back to the store and picked up just a few small things that she wanted to make the space her own, if you will.
So that's good. So you brought up two things. Um, it probably is easier, especially with younger children, to create things, but then add their own, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because we know kids can say they need all this kind of stuff and spend your money. They don't really need it,
Right,
right?
right. That's correct.
uh,
Absolutely.
but you also mentioned something I didn't even think about, how important parent groups and communicating with other parents and communicating with their teachers. How
Yes.
did that influence how much or what you put in her designated space? And does
Sure.
that, yeah. Mhm.
I'm a big believer in knowing what you need to operate at your home. Um, for everything for Corinne, from birth until she's no longer in my home. We operate our home in a certain way. So I don't always ask for advice or solicit other help. However, in this new environment, where we all had never experienced this before, it was helpful to just check. I am just a part of the PTO Facebook group, right? I am a PTO member, but also just I'm constantly checking the group, and people are asking for suggestions. What are you guys doing? Has anybody made a decision? What do you think you need? And so just kind of looking at those threads, definitely looking at a lot of the threads for pod groups that were popping up all over, and I was making a decision: should I put her in a pod, or does it make sense to put her with a small group, or can we manage this on our own? So, even though I am pretty independent as a parent, I, because of this new environment that we're in, I definitely started to kind of ask other parents for advice or for suggestions or just to hear what their thoughts were. And they wanted to hear mine. And I think it does bring up the idea of community, and how even when we think we don't need community, we need community, because we're all navigating a new world together, right? Nobody has done this before. Even if you were a homeschool parent, that's a lot different than a parent who's full time working and teach and trying to be a digital support. Because the reality is that I don't leave my 3-year-old to do school Monday through Friday from 7:40 to 2:10 on her own. I am in the room next to her and I'm working, but I'm listening in for what her teacher is saying. I'm checking in every half hour. Hey, what number are you on? Did you submit what you were supposed to submit? What page did you read? So I'm just checking, because I would love to say that my child will just start school and in school every day and be on task and on focus, but that's not reality. She wouldn't have been doing that in the classroom without a guided adult to check in. And so I'm grateful that we're blessed enough that I can be in the next room and just kind of check in periodically to help keep her focused and to help make sure that she's attending to what she's supposed to do, because a teacher can only do so much from the other side of a computer screen.
Especially if they're having hybrid. I've heard
Yes.
some districts where they're having hybrid.
Well,
Um,
that started for us this week. Yeah, that started
okay.
for us this week. So now, that was a conversation for Corinne and I. It's like, your teacher is going to do her best to accommodate everyone who's on a computer screen, but she also now has up to 6 students in her classroom, and that's not every day. It hasn't been that. Some days it's less, but she's trying to navigate 2 different groups of students. So you have to give her a little bit of grace, and then you have to take on a little bit more responsibility to get your things done. So you're not one of the students that she has to then come back and circle back around to keep checking in on. If you just do what she says from the beginning, hopefully you can be one of those students that she doesn't really have to worry about. And so those are the conversations we're having on a daily basis in our house. It is not easy, believe it.
How do you think that having the space as organized as you have has helped her do her work, and has helped you balance supporting her and doing your own work, right?
Sure. Um, I know the clock has been been a good helper. Her schedule for the day is up on our cork board. And so there are times throughout the day where I'm saying, because I'm working, so I'm thinking, I may be answering an email or getting ready for a call, and I'm like, okay, it's 10:10. What's next? And she can just look to the left and look at her cork board and say, oh, okay, it's time for a brain break. Okay, then I know that means she has 10 minutes where she is free to do whatever she wants. And sometimes I make her jump on her little trampoline to get some energy out. Sometimes I make her go outside and take some fresh breaths of air. And sometimes she just sits on her computer and goes to her favorite reading site, which is Epic. She is an avid reader. She is an advanced reader. And so reading's her favorite thing. So she actually would prefer to sit and read all day. So the schedule, the clock, having her schedule to the left of her, having file folders to the right of her where she can put her art work. I mean, her art teacher, the specials teachers, all teachers, first of all, are doing a dynamic job at her school managing this. But I love the energy that her specials teachers like art and PE and her music teacher, they are doing a dynamic job, still engaging them like they would in the classroom. So for me, it was important to have at the onset construction paper, white paper, rulers, scissors, anything I thought she could use. I bought it because I wanted to make sure that the day her art teacher said, hey, we're going to draw a picture together, at minimum, she had a pencil that was sharpened and she had a ruler and a blank piece of paper. So we started the school year off with 20 pencils that were already pre-sharpened, because as a working mom, I can't have her come to me and say, my pencil doesn't work. So likewise, we bought an electric pencil sharpener this year. That's something we didn't have normally. Now she doesn't have to run to me and say, my pencil broke. You have a sharpener. You can access it anytime you need it. But beyond that, I'm already giving you 20 extra pencils that are already sharpened so that I can balance working from home and supporting her digital and her remote instruction.
So you're making a good point. As you are doing the designated space, um, I'm thinking even when it is not pandemic time, right? You may be cooking dinner when she's doing homework, right?
Yes.
You may be on a call with your social stuff. You may be trying to unwind from work yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so, one of the things you're saying that is important is not only thinking about what they need, but what you can have to make them a little more independent, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, for me, it's key because my job, although, it's a sort of typical 9 to 5, it extends beyond 5 o'clock some days. Some days I'm writing reports late into the evening. Some days I have meetings and calls that are beyond that 5 o'clock hour. And I do need her to work independently or support herself in some ways that she can. As she's a third grader. So we're really starting to get into independence even more so now. And she can do it. And I think the more, it was funny, I think by week 2, the teachers were sending emails saying, okay, parents, we saw you week 1 on camera a lot. We know that you all were in the background helping, and we understand why. But now into week 2, we really need you to give your students the keys to the car, so to speak, to drive themselves, because they can't do this with you all school year, right? They would not be doing it with you if we were in face-to-face instruction. And when it comes time for testing, you won't be there. You may literally be in the house, but you cannot take the test for them. So we have to give them the tools. We have to give them the keys, let them get in the car and start to figure it out. And so as much as I wanted to kind of still chime in and be on camera and make sure everything was okay, I did take a step back to allow for her to start to gain that independence that the school was requesting and that we needed in our home.
So, your daughter's in third grade. What
Yeah.
advice do you have for people who have younger children, as well as people who may be older, but children need a little more support. Like, does having the space organized help a lot with that? Or what advice would you give for those parents?
I think young or old, it's I think it's really important for them, if you can, everyone cannot, I understand, to give them a space that feels like theirs. I mean, some people are able to give a wall in the living room. Some people are able to give, a corner of the bedroom or of the student's bedroom. And I'll tell you, as we shared before, Corinne already has a small desk in her bedroom and a chair. So I just thought, well, school's going to take place in her room. And then it was a conversation with another parent that made me rethink that, because what she said was that she thought that she wanted her child's bedroom to be kind of a safe space and a space of sanctuary, if you will, and not have to associate, first of all, being in that room all day and all night, but also just having a separation as you would if you were actually going to school versus coming home to your bedroom. And that made me rethink where I would allow Corinne to have digital learning. So I would say, as we shared, like, number one, use your resources, use other people's experiences, use other people's suggestions if you're just not sure what's right for your house. I'll also say, whether your child is old or young, all children need some adult supervision through this process. It's new for everyone. And imagine, I mean, we know how we feel as adults, trying to figure out a global pandemic, trying to work through it while we're losing people close to us, while we're experiencing injustices all over this country. I mean, this is a lot for our minds to balance as adults. So I'm reminded through other people that help me keep it in perspective, to give grace to our children, even more so than we may normally do. Having said that, coupled with the grace, I think, is the responsibility on us to make sure we're still providing oversight, not doing the work for them, not sitting through their whole class necessarily, but providing oversight, check-ins periodically. How are you doing? What number did you finish? Did you submit that assignment? And then that, for me, also looks like checking the apps, right, that we use with her teachers. So I can send a message just to check in. And it's not every day. It might just be on Fridays. Hey, just checking in with her teacher. Did she complete everything for this week? Is there anything outstanding that I should know about? And so that's young or old, whether you're a junior, a senior in high school, whether you have a junior or senior in high school, or you have a kindergartner. All children, no matter what, need the support through this process. And as much as you can give, I would give it as a parent, while still allowing their independence to shine through. So I think community and supervision and oversight probably are my main two focuses and two suggestions to parents who have to navigate our current world.
So my last question before I have you give our final thoughts. So whenever, we don't know when we'll be back able to go in the classroom, right? Doesn't look like anytime soon.
Right.
I thought about what you said about keeping her bedroom sacred. Do you think that when we go back, you'll still keep that space for her to do her homework and go back to the desk? Or do you think that even when she's able to go back to the classroom safely, that space is still good to have that separation for her to, have a place to do her homework and study?
I think it's good. It's not something I originally thought when we were kind of putting our house together. I was like, okay, her bedroom is her room, so everything for her needs to be in her room, But I think when we go back to face, which again, we don't know when that will be for our household, but I think I'll keep this space for her Similar to, me growing up, and the dining room table was the space, right? That's where you did at my house. That's where we did our homework. That was, you come in, you put your book bag on the chair, and you sit down and you get started on your homework at the dining room table. There wasn't really a lot of room for you just to hang out on the couch and do homework, or hang out on the floor in the living room and do homework, or even my bedroom wasn't necessarily the space for that. My mom wanted to make sure that I had a strong table, I could write on a flat surface, there was enough lighting, those type of things that are important, that we don't necessarily think about being important, are important still to this day with a child attempting to focus on their work. So yeah, I think we'll keep this space. It's organized, it's colorful, it's for her. It works. It's just one wall in a room, a larger room that is utilized by myself and others. So it won't hurt for her to keep organized and to keep this as a space that she can support herself through homework once we do return to face-to-face instruction.
Okay. So just any last words of wisdom that you want to share with other parents about keeping that designated space for homework and remote instruction, all that you want to provide?
Yeah, just make it, according to your child's needs. My child, one thing I didn't share is, I said she's a reader. And so I keep a book bin right next to her desk so that she can always grab a book. So there, for us, I'm never concerned about free time, because I'm like, you have books to read. You can pick any book you like. And we have a bookshelf in her room, so she can change out books throughout the week. So I keep a book bin that's always at her disposal. She's also a very, she's precocious. She is very active and a little fidgety, like most children. So I purchased, and I'm going to show you guys this on screen. This is a little seat cushion.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, so this is a seat cushion for her to sit on, and it's actually good for balance. And if you search it on like Amazon, it's kind of called a balancing or a fidgety cushion. You can find it under different names. But I put that on her seat so that as she's moving throughout the day, once she starts to get a little sleepy or a little fidgety, she can kind of move around on that. I also keep gum in my room, and I check in with her periodically. If it's a testing day where she has math tests, where she actually has a little bit of anxiety about, I try to check in and say, hey, would you like a piece of gum to get through your test? And that's a strategy that most educators use during standardized testing, is to provide gum or peppermints for students to help keep them alert and to help keep them focused, and just to give them something to focus on while they're taking their test. And so I'll check in with her periodically when the day gets long throughout the afternoon and she's starting to get a little sleepy. Hey, or here's a little snack pack of trail mix. I'll let her have something like that. So I would just say, be very attentive to your child's specific needs, right? So your child and better than anyone else. So whatever you think can support them best throughout this process, those are the things that you should be doing to help get them through this as successfully and mitigate the damages to our children as much as possible. So that's all. And good luck to all of our parents who are doing this, who are working, those who are working and those who are not. This is tough, no matter what your scenario is, no matter what your socioeconomic status is. This is tough. And so be gentle with yourselves and give grace to yourself where you can. That's just my 2 cents. So good luck to all.
Well, thank you so much, Danielle. You gave us some great, great tips. And I hope that you all that are listening or watching it on YouTube, that you take really good notes about what to do for your child. As Danielle said, you know your child best. And so this is a time more than ever, right, where we have to do what we feel best for our household and for our families and for our children. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Danielle, so much for giving
you're
us
welcome.
some great strategies. And I'll see you all in the next Cupcakes and Convos.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.